And I would like to present today a topic that is particularly close to my heart, which is how we can use space technologies for something better for the world. And today I will focus on this green transformation and how the use of space data can support companies. We have a focus on companies, but it likely can be used also by member states, by regions. So it is more universal than what I will present today. So my name is Justyna Radełkiewicz. I work at EUSPA, and just a few words about EUSPA. So we are an EU agency. We are part of the European Union government, and we are in charge of the, among other things, commercialization of the EU space programs. And I put also a short slide on what are the EU space programs, so maybe not everybody knows. So in Europe, we have the Earth observation program that is called Copernicus, the global satellite navigation program that is called Galileo, a regional augmentation system EGNOS, for mostly designed for aviation but used in many other areas, and currently under development also the satellite connectivity program called GovSatcom. So what we are doing at EUSPA is we are trying to commercialize these programs, meaning, of course, the data, the signals are provided for free, are available globally. So if you are listening from any country, this data can be used. And as part of this work, we also look at how they can be used for this green transformation. So just to also explain a little bit.
So just to Justyna, yes. So your slides are not changing, so maybe you'd like to make this a full screen?
Yes.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, I think it's the Zoom issue. So I was presenting just the agency. These are the space programs, and then I was here. So I just would like to say that we've been speaking a lot during this conference about the use of space technologies for the outer space, but what we are doing mostly is we are looking at how the space technologies can be used on Earth. And so we define the 17 industries, market segments, as we call them, where space data can be used, and they can be used also for these sustainability targets. So just to mention a few: aviation, agriculture, climate services, consumer solutions. We have published several reports that you can see on our website to actually understand, if you are interested, what are the applications in each of these areas. So for what applications insurance companies could use space data, for what applications finance companies, banks, forest owners, ports, automotive industry can use space data. And what we do inside the agency is, so first of all, we are analyzing this market. And today I will present you one of our reports that is focusing on sustainability. But then we support directly the demand for the space data, meaning we work with corporates, we work with regions, and we try to understand where in their business processes or in their operations they could start using space data to get more efficiency and to become more sustainable. And last but not least, we have also activities around what we call offer creation, which basically means that we are co-funding projects, innovation projects, research and development projects to directly cover some market gaps when it's not possible to directly use space data. There has to be some innovation there. So after this short introduction of who we are and what we do, I would like to go directly to the topic of today's presentation, which is the report that we published in January this year about the EU space for green transformation. So this report is available free of charge on our website. I included a link here. I hope that Martinez will make this presentation available to everyone, so you can read the full report, and today I will present just a few highlights. So what was the aim of the study? We wanted to understand, first of all, what this green transformation means in practice for companies, because there is a lot of discussion about how to become more green. There is the Green Deal program of the Commission, of the European Union. Everybody basically understands it in different way, and I think that we understand that we have to use less plastic, that we have to be more, reduce our environmental footprint, but we wanted to go more really in practical processes, and we interviewed several companies, and some of them agreed that we share their logo, like Lamborghini, Total Energies, and so on. And we discussed with them what is for you practically the green transformation. And then we analyzed also if they are already using today the space data. And what we realized is that almost none of them are using space data. But once they understood what space data can do, they were extremely interested to start. So that's why we decided to publish this report to kind of make the companies aware that this is a tool that is available free of charge, and they can really have access to a lot of data that can help them in their sustainability processes. And when we look at Europe in particular, in Europe, we have this big program of the European Commission that is called European Green Deal. And it says that we should become a zero-emission continent by 2050. And when you look from the perspective of a company, what the Green Deal means is to, have a clean energy, have greener buildings, have sustainable transport, reduce CO2. So there are really many different dimensions to becoming green. And what also happens is that there is a huge investment. This is an example of Europe, but I'm sure that in other regions of the world, there is already a lot of money available to support companies to become more green. And at the same time, if we look at the market of green services, so green buildings, carbon footprint management, forest monitoring, crop monitoring, this market is booming. So for corporates, first of all, they have some kind of regulatory pressure to start becoming green. Secondly, they have the support, the financial support to do it. And thirdly, it represents a real business opportunity. And so in this context, what we would like to say is that space data can support this transformation in two ways. The first way is to monitor, so support this. And here you can see on the left slide, I know that the slides are a little bit crowded, but basically you can see that the first column is this environmental monitoring. And so if a company has to understand the environmental footprint, the emissions, the waste, the impact that it has on the environment, on biodiversity, the space data, especially coming from Earth observation, can deliver all this information. So the Earth observation systems monitor the atmosphere composition, the pollution, the changes in biodiversity, because let's not forget, we have the data of today, but we also have the data from the past where we can, trace trends and see historical changes. And also based on that, we can do predictions. So the companies have access not only to what is happening today, but also what happened over the last years. And the easy example is the melting of the icebergs. So if you look at satellite imagery, you can directly see how the icebergs are melting and how they are decreasing. This is maybe not directly important for a company because not many companies have a direct business there in the iceberg monitoring field. But if you look at energy companies, that they have to design their best way of placing an energy plant, is it a solar plant or a wind plant, the space data directly help to monitor this impact. And the second column that you see here on the right is the direct footprint reduction. So by using space technologies, like for example, precise positioning, the companies can directly impact on how much they pollute, how much they produce. And so, for example, if we optimize transportation, if we optimize our supply chain using a precise location, then we generate less CO2 because we consume less fuel. So there are some direct benefits that we can achieve. And here in this example, you can see that we try to do some calculations on what could be this direct impact, not on the monitoring side, but this direct impact. And only the EU space programs can already make a big change. So if, for example, we look at agriculture market, by using precise agriculture, precision agriculture, with the location technologies, you can directly reduce the use of pesticides, the use of fertilizers, and have this impact on environment. I would like to say also that in the monitoring part, there is no standardized ways for the companies today to measure their green transition. And there is this framework that is called ESG, so environmental, social governance matrices. But even that is not really, let's say, quantified in a way that you have a really clear list of KPIs that every single company should measure. There are some movements in this direction. The United Nations created the Sustainable Development Goals. There are different frameworks that can be used. But what I would like to say that no matter which framework you adopt as a company, the space data coming from Earth observation, coming from positioning systems can directly provide you information for these KPIs. So here on this slide, I'm just giving some examples in case of emissions. You can measure the NO2 emissions, SO2 emissions, greenhouse gases emissions in terms of waste management. You have services of, in this example, Copernicus Earth Observation Program that help you measuring these effects. And I would like to give some examples. So if we look at, for example, this energy sector, and I would like to say that in the report, you will have examples for every single one of these 17 industries or application areas that I mentioned. And you will have examples of how this can be used, and also examples of companies that deliver today already services in that field. Because one very important finding of the report is that there is a very big movement in the entrepreneurship field. There are many smaller companies that actually started utilizing space data, and they created like industry vertical solutions that are targeted to insurance companies, to pharmaceutical companies, to energy companies, and they can generate information out of the data. So if you are a corporation that is not today yet familiar so much with the space data use, but would like to try, there are a lot of suppliers, providers that can help build this competence in a corporate. And the same in a region, in a country, and so on. So if we look at the energy sector, we can not only monitor some emissions, like for example the methane emission, that is an important factor in the energy production, but we can also really optimize our energy production sites. So if we look at the wind energy, for example, the data from Earth observation give us information about the wind speed, about the wind intensity, and again, this is not only from today, but for the last couple of years, you can develop trends and you can then predict how it will be in the future. And if you look at the solar energy plants, again, the UV index intensity can be measured by Earth observation. So you can directly calculate if you place your solar panels in this place, it will give you this amount of energy. But if you move it, I don't know, 2-5 kilometers in another place, it will optimize your energy production. And last but not least, the modern energy networks, they have to be also synchronized. And the precise timing that can be used for this synchronization can also come from satellites. So for example, Galileo, GPS, BeiDou, GLONASS, they provide timing services, and this can be used to better synchronize the grids and achieve some efficiencies. When we move to the agriculture market, this is something that I already mentioned briefly before. But if we look at the farming equipment today, it is already possible to have farming operations that are completely unmanned. But so this is generating some optimization, but maybe the most interesting one is the fact that we can really precisely apply chemical products on the field. And so first of all, we increase yield because the field doesn't have to be so much absorbing the chemicals, because we can really optimize this. And at the same time, we have less impact on biodiversity. and we can really reduce the pesticide utilization. When we look at smart mobility, here mostly we look at the use of the navigation positioning systems. So all this enabling of automated operations is done thanks to the positioning systems such as Galileo, GPS, and so on. And this allows really for some optimizations and for also bringing to the market new solutions like this electric scooter sharing solutions, bike sharing solutions, car sharing solutions. This is all enabled by location technologies, and this directly has impact on making the cities greener. So this is the example of smart mobility. And again, in each industry, the maturity of these solutions is different. So for example, here in smart mobility, we all are aware that these applications exist. In agriculture also, but if we look at energy, if we look at pharmaceutical business, there the use of space data is only emerging. It's only now that it starts to be used. And last but not least, I would like to say that there are already some companies, and we are just listing here some examples, Global, Intelligence, Cicras, that are some small companies, European companies, that really specialized in the use of satellite data for the ESG monitoring. So again, this ESG is this new framework to measure each company's performance for what concerns the environmental, social, and governance dimensions. And again, there is not one very direct, let's say, framework, list of KPIs that each company should measure. And these companies that I mentioned here, they started developing this framework with the use of satellite data. So again, here we can monitor our impact. So for example, this can be used directly for the companies because they can either inform or showcase that they are specifically high performing in these areas of green transition. But this is also a very important field for the green financing. This is also something that we observe in Europe, that there is a bigger regulatory pressure for banks, for financial institutions to invest in projects that are also environmentally friendly or that have this reduced negative impact. And for those green financing, we will need to monitor the KPIs, and Earth observation data can provide a really excellent source for understanding if a given investment, for example, if we build a highway, if we build, I don't know, a new city, if we, cut part of the forest and we want to create a plantation there. So all this can be observed from satellites and can provide a really reliable data to monitor this impact. So I think it was my last slide, so it was a little bit shorter, but I think that I captured most of the findings that we had in this report. So I really would like to encourage you to download it, to go through it, to look at your particular industry in which you are interested. And in case you have any questions, I really encourage you to directly contact me or my colleagues, and we can support you with our technical advisory on how to really make these things happen, let's say.